In today's Business Matters, there's encouraging news for Americans looking to purchase a home this spring. It seems like the housing market is shifting in favor of buyers in many parts of the country. According to a recent Redfin analysis, there were 3.7 months of for sale supply on the market in January, and that means it would take more than 3 months to sell all the homes that were listed for sale in January. It's the most in 6 years and points to a housing market where sellers are slowly losing leverage after years of having the upper hand. Generally, more than 4 months of supply sitting on the market indicates a full tilt buyer's market. Currently, home shoppers in the southeast of Florida have the most buying power of anywhere else in the country. And a tragic crash is prompting an airline group to call on the FAA to reduce air traffic outside Washington, D.C. around Reagan National Airport. In prepared testimony for a House hearing, Airlines for America is urging officials to permanently reduce helicopter travel near the airport, and this comes after a military helicopter and an American Airlines jet crashed in January and killed 67 people. The FAA has temporarily banned most helicopters in the area until a report comes in this month from the National Transportation Safety Board. New scrutiny for TikTok in the UK. Britain's privacy watchdog is launching an investigation into how TikTok, Reddit, and Imgur safeguard children's privacy. Social media companies use complex algorithms to prioritize content and keep users engaged, but the UK's Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO, says children are being influenced by increasing amounts of harmful material. The office said it's also investigating how China's short-form video sharing platform TikTok uses personal information from teenagers to suggest content. Social media and discussion platform Reddit and Imgur are being investigated over how they assess the age of child users. In 2023, the ICO fined TikTok $16 million for using the personal data of children under 13 without parental consent. In a different take on these platforms, a subreddit could be formed with the co-founder joining a bid to take over TikTok's US operations. Alexis Ohanian is now part of billionaire Frank McCourt's Project Liberty bid. Ohanian will be a strategic advisor and help promote the bid, which McCourt calls the people's bid. McCourt says the plan is to let users control how their data will be used and shared. Ohanian founded Reddit with his college roommate and sold it to Condé Nast in 2006. He also has invested in a number of tech companies, including Instacart and Patreon. McCourt described TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance as only lightly engaged in his effort. The longtime CEO of grocery chain Kroger is now out of a job. He has been ousted after a probe into his personal conduct. Here's more.
Longtime Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen has resigned after an internal investigation found that his personal conduct was inconsistent with the company's ethics policy. The U.S. grocery chain, in a statement released Monday, said McMullen's behavior was not related to financial performance, operations, or reporting, and that it did not involve any Kroger associates. The surprise ouster of the 64-year-old executive comes after Kroger in December ended a 2-year effort to buy rival Albertsons for $25 billion. McMullen had staunchly defended the deal as a way to fight higher prices and better compete with Walmart and Costco. Albertsons has since sued Kroger for an alleged breach of contract. McMullen had been at Kroger since 1978 and served as its CEO for more than a decade. Longtime Kroger director Ronald Sargent will serve as interim CEO while the company searches for McMullen's replacement. Shares of Kroger were down more than 1.5% in Monday morning trading.
Now, it's been nearly 3 decades since pizza fans took their first bite out of stuffed crust. Pizza Hut immediately set records with the new item. Domino's was hesitant to add stuffed crust because it took longer to prepare. Domino's chief marketing officer said the company loses about 13 million, mostly younger customers looking for the option. That's why, starting today, stuffed crust is finally being served At Domino's, the CFO said this has been one of the longest development efforts in the company's history. So the new crust sells for $9.99 with one topping. Better bargains are beating out long-standing brand loyalty, and this has become a growing threat to historic conglomerates like Unilever and Procter & Gamble. For example, Hellmann's mayonnaise, it's priced around $6.50, and this is one of Unilever's biggest global brands. But the condiment is losing market share to less-known rivals, such as Duke's Mayo, priced below $5. Prices at Unilever rose while it reported sales volume roughly flat last year. Some shoppers are drifting from well-known products due to steep prices and fewer innovations from large companies. And Starbucks is trimming its menu. Monday is the last day for 13 drinks from the coffee giant. In addition to several different Frappuccino drinks, other beverages getting tossed include the iced matcha, lemonade, white hot chocolate, and the Royal English Breakfast Latte. In a statement, Starbucks said, most of these drinks aren't especially big sellers, and they can take longer than usual to make. Officials say getting rid of them will help boost profitability and speed up customer service. Meanwhile, Bitcoin surged more than 20% today. That's after President Trump's new strategic reserve move. Here's a closer look.
Prices for Bitcoin and the like have soared after Donald Trump set out plans for a US cryptocurrency reserve. On Sunday, he said in a social media post that the stockpile would include Bitcoin and Ether, as well as smaller tokens XRP, Solana and Cardano. It was the first time the US president had named which assets would be involved. The news sent prices sharply higher, with Bitcoin and Ether both up around a fifth from last week by Monday morning. Trump said that the pair would be at the heart of the new reserve. In all, the global crypto market gained some $300 billion in value in the hours following the news. That's according to data from analysis company CoinGecko. What is certain is that it marks a major change in sentiment from the previous administration. Under Joe Biden, US regulators had cracked down on crypto over concerns about fraud and money laundering. But Trump came to power promising to be a crypto president.
Hello, Bitcoiners.
And he's appointed fans of digital money to key posts in his administration. However, crypto prices had been sliding on concerns over a lack of other concrete moves on the sector. Sunday's social media post then swiftly reversed the downward trend. On Friday, Bitcoin bulls will be hoping for more positive signals when Trump hosts a crypto summit at the White House.
A content clash over free speech online is unfolding between the US and the EU. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr has expressed concern over the EU's Digital Services Act. Tech companies can be fined for failing to tackle illegal content within the European Union. Carr said that the EU's content moderation law is incompatible with America's free speech tradition. He added that there's a risk that it will excessively restrict freedom of expression. An EU spokesperson said that the DSA is not about censorship and called the censorship allegations unfounded. Behind the glitz of the movie award season, Hollywood is fighting a battle to keep its place at the center of the global film business. Here's that story.
As Hollywood celebrated its biggest night of the year with the Oscars on Sunday, Los Angeles is fighting a battle behind the scenes to defend its title as the global film capital. None of the Best Picture contenders this year were filmed in LA, home to most major film studios for more than a century. Movie and TV production has been exiting Hollywood for years, heading to locations with tax incentives that make filming cheaper. Crew members were hoping for a rebound in Los Angeles after strikes by writers and actors in 2023, but statistics show the comeback has been slow. Production in LA has dropped 5.6% from 2023 to 2024, according to Film LA, its second lowest level on record, ahead of only the COVID-19 year of 2020. January's wildfires destroyed sections of the city, accelerating concerns producers may look elsewhere and behind-the-scenes workers may move out of town rather than try to rebuild. There are fears that Los Angeles studios such as Netflix and Walt Disney could decide to move out if trends continue. Here's Samantha Chuan, a producer of Anora, which took out the Best Picture award.
You know, there are a lot of people who haven't worked in a while because of the strikes and everything, and then now the fires. And I think it's been a good wake-up call for everyone to push for production to go back to Los Angeles.
Advocates have launched a Stay in LA campaign, hoping to capitalize on the goodwill towards Angelenos following the fires. As well as pushing for tax incentives, they are also urging studios to commit to increasing production in LA by at least 10% over the next 3 years. Susan Sprung is the CEO of the Producers Guild of America.
This is the best place to produce projects in the world. We have the best crews in the world. We have the best producers in the world. Most people live here. They want to work at home. Given everything that's gone on, that's what I hope we bring production back to LA.
A survey of executives by ProdPro found California was the 6th most preferred place to film in the next 2 years, behind Toronto, Britain, Vancouver, Central Europe and Australia. Sunday's Oscars acknowledged the fires and celebrated the resiliency of Los Angeles. Speakers rallied support for keeping production in Hollywood, as they have at other awards shows.
So it hasn't been launched yet. It doesn't have a name, but Fox Corp CEO is sharing his outlook on its upcoming new streaming service. Lachlan Murdoch is expecting to draw a modest number of initial subscribers in the low millions. The service is set to launch by the end of this year, around the next NFL season. When the service was announced, Murdoch said the service would be holistic of all the company's content, including Fox Sports and Fox News. At a conference, Murdoch stressed that the goal is not to cannibalize linear TV. Instead, the service is meant to attract cord cutters and those who never had cable. Lockheed Martin unveils a new affordable cruise missile. It costs around $150,000 and has a range of over 500 miles. Compare that to its joint air-to-surface standoff missile. That price tag is $1.5 million. Lockheed notes that the low-cost, long-range cruise missile cannot compete with the JASSM, though. Instead, the defense contractor is working on a family of low-cost weapons. This is to tap the U.S.'s need to deter Chinese ambitions in the Pacific. The U.S. and other countries are leaning toward a new strategy known as affordable mass, meaning plenty of relatively cheap weapons on hand. Servers used in a fraud case in Singapore may have contained NVIDIA's advanced chips. Reports speculate this is the way chips are still getting there despite being banned by the U.S. from entering China.
Now, there's been some speculation linking this case with the potential circumvention of U.S. export controls for advanced NVIDIA chips. Now, this case is unrelated. It's an independent investigation conducted by Singapore. We received an anonymous tip-off. It was not a tip-off or information from any country or sovereign entity.
Now, it's worth adding that Singapore last week charged 3 men with fraud. Local media alleges the case links the movement of NVIDIA's AI chips from Singapore to Chinese artificial intelligence firm DeepSeek. So Singapore's Home Affairs and Law Minister says the servers involved in the case were supplied by U.S. companies Dell and Supermicro before they were sent to Malaysia. He said authorities do not know for certain at this point if their final destination was Malaysia. He also said Singapore has asked U.S. authorities if the servers contained items subject to U.S. export controls and said it would help in any investigation. And Trump ruled out a last-minute reprieve for Canada and Mexico, confirming tariffs will take effect at midnight. He said, quote, no room left for Mexico or Canada. So the 25% import duties will start tomorrow, along with a 20% hike on Chinese goods as well. He cited fentanyl smuggling as a reason for the move. And earlier, I spoke to Mark Kwan, financial expert and author of the book Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes on this topic. Take a look. Tell us, what are the impacts do you think is going to be domestically with 10% tariffs on China and 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico?
You know what? I'm Canadian and I'm American, so I can see both sides of this equation. But I came to the United States 25 years ago for the American dream, and all I've seen is an America last agenda with countries, China, Canada, shipping their products to the United States, taking factories away from the United States, taking away American jobs. People don't understand a tariff is just a way to make something more expensive. So if a car shipped from China or Canada or somewhere, they tariff it, it makes it more expensive, meaning they're not going to buy that product, and it forces those countries to move their factories to the United States. So it's an America first agenda. Lots of people don't like it. The only people who don't like it is China and Canada. So I'm very supportive of tariffs.
So if the prices are going to increase, I mean, what's knock-on effects of that? How will major U.S. industries be affected?
There's no way to change an entire system. America has had an America First agenda since the 80s. There's a video of Donald Trump in 1988 on Talking with Oprah when he says America has been put last and China and Canada and other countries have been stealing from us. This is not a new topic. I mean, I was 11 years old when that video put out. So this is the first time I've ever seen it in 25 years in the United States where we're using tariffs as a tool. It's a negotiating tool. It forces other companies to bring their factories and produce things in the United States of America. So yes, you can't change an entire system that's been running for 35 years, putting America last without some ruffling some feathers. But ultimately, it's going to make America stronger. It's going to, again, yes, some things will go up in price, but the things in it, but it'll force people to buy things that are made in America. So that's an amazing thing. We could actually put "Made in America" on products in the United States again.
So at one point you mentioned that this is a tool, the tariffs. So let me ask you, the Trump administration has linked tariffs on Mexico and Canada to border security concerns, particularly drug trafficking. So if this is a tool, how effective is it for tackling this?
It's incredibly effective. It's a negotiating tool. And the United States is still the big country. We're the one with the biggest economy. They can just force it. They can just say, look, if you don't secure the border, and they did. Canada put 10,000 troops to defend. So it's just a negotiating tool. Trump is just negotiating. He's a master negotiator. He uses tariffs as a tool, but everything is about making America greater and making America stronger again, and also bringing jobs back to the United States. I mean, we used to produce cars in the United States. We don't really do that as much anymore. They're produced everywhere else. Just tariff the cars from China, tariff the cars from the United States or from China. They're going to get more expensive, and they either have to if they have to produce it in the United States, or Americans are just not going to buy that product. Inflation's only caused when some people buy that product. If people stop buying the product, there is no inflation in that product. So I think that people's concerns, they're valid. You can't make these big changes without some negative consequences, but ultimately it's going to be great for Americans. Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on. That's our time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let me just quickly mention markets before we go here. Wall Street's main stock indexes slipped on Monday today after President Donald Trump announced the start of 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. As well, recent reports of softening consumer demand have spurred fears of an economic slowdown and higher inflation. Trump has threatened that an extra 10% duty on imports from China will also take effect on Tuesday, which potentially could spark retaliation from Beijing. All right, that's it on today's Business Matters.